Any questions from the classes? I know you were on, right? I think you were on them.
Yes, we were on. Mm-hmm.
Right. So how did that go for you?
It went very
Was it-
well. You know, basically it's like a spring cleaning. You just have to get rid of all the fine grains. You have to clean everything, to take all
It's
the
interesting that you said it's
breadcrumbs.
spring cleaning, because that's always the first thing I say. Don't spring clean.
Mhm. You're really,
And
yeah, that's what you
Really?
said actually.
Really, we shouldn't spring clean because that has nothing to do with Pesach. And it
It
makes
was
our lives much
interesting.
harder.
I think like the other community members being on the call was like interesting because it was like they were asking very specific questions, but also some of their questions I think confused me a little bit. Like I
Oh,
kind of
good.
was
So
like, oh,
that's
I
what
wish,
yeah. So that,
yeah.
did you write them down? Do you know which ones?
Like I mean, yeah, I think I wrote, well, I didn't write them down, but I thought about them and I looked them up in the resource link that you sent me. And the one that
Terrific.
yeah, the one that like really confused me that I was like, oh my gosh, I actually can't follow this conversation very well
Yeah.
was the like covering the stovetop one. Cause I was like, I actually like I understand washing the stove, but then I think people were saying that they wanted to cover their stoves with tinfoil too. And then I think what you were saying was don't do it because it's a fire hazard, right?
I had a
And
fire actually one time from the foil. I didn't want to say
You
it
know what? I
inside.
wish you had said that on the thing so that people would know that this is a real thing. Like the answer, it never happened to me. That's, sorry, not a helpful answer. Great that it didn't happen to you, but
yeah,
that doesn't change that it's a fire hazard.
Because
I
in the
guess I was kind of
microwave,
wondering
Hi,
like
sorry, I have to have my
why.
camera off for a bit. I'm still driving. I had to do some things, but I
No
am listening.
problem. No problem at all. So yeah, so they, a lot of people have customs that they cover things whether it's necessary or not. And once you hear it's a fire hazard, then you should find other ways to handle whatever it is. That was my point, I think.
Mhm.
But you felt
Yeah,
that you
and I
couldn't
understood
follow.
that that was your point, but I kind of didn't understand why they wanted to cover it in the first place because like I just like would never have thought of because like food won't be on the burners. I didn't really
So I think
understand
she said
why.
that in the old stoves, there was a space that
Oh,
was open in between the burners. And she was used to putting her pots down there. And since the pots were
okay.
chametz, maybe, so I said,
Mhm.
but the degree of separation to go from there to go on the outside of a Pesach pot and go in, and it's just too, it's too
complicated.
far removed, and you could just clean it and, but I don't know if I got
Like
anywhere with
especially
her.
if you're cleaning it with like I mean we were wiping down our oven with bleach, which I would like isn't the point like you're cleaning things with bleach to like render and
No,
any
you
chametz
still,
like
no, you still
inedible
have to.
anyways.
Our custom is still to kosher it, to render it like back to zero. And we do
You're
that.
koshering your oven top?
My
Your
stovetop,
stovetop?
yeah. I mean, you kosher the
Yeah.
burners and the spider things,
Okay, yeah. I got
but
you.
you can't
But
kosher the
like,
metal.
yeah,
So anything that falls on the metal, we just consider tray, like not Pesach things.
yeah.
I
Okay.
put everything in the dishwasher, you know, the tops, and then all the rest they clean it
That does
nicely.
not help at all. First of all, we
That's-
don't own a dishwasher in our apartment. The kitchen's too small to have a dishwasher. It was either a dishwasher or an oven. So, there wasn't an
Mhm.
option. But dishwashing does not kosher things, it just cleans them. That is not the same thing. One
But you
second, I
can,
just want to
but
make
if
that
you,
clear. One second, please, Mariana, please go repeat your question.
No, I was just because when you put things into the dishwasher, it's a hot boiling water. Didn't we say that?
So remember, so first of all, the pot has to be immersed in boiling water. And what happens in the dishwasher, it sprays it with boiling water. It's not the way we do it. The way we do it is if you fill it with boiling, remember we said that the way it absorbs, that's the way you have to let it exude. The way it
Mhm.
takes it in, that's the way it has to let it out. It doesn't take in by spraying hot water in the dishwasher. That is
Got it.
not the way. So you have to read my file, which says how to kosher. Did you read that file?
Yes, yes, I read.
So you'll see in there, it doesn't say anything about koshering with a dishwasher.
I just
If
thought,
there's something about koshering the dishwasher, that's different, but not koshering the pots.
okay.
The pots have to be koshered in the same way they became full of chametz, by boiling them, by either immersing them in boiling water or by making it overflow. That's what you have to do. If they're pots that were used for cooking water or liquid, doesn't matter, used for cooking. If it's the oven or the stove top, then it absorbs by fire, which means you have to put it in fire and fire it in order to get the chametz, so to speak, out. I want to also explain to you, you could tell me, oh, scientifically it'll do this, but this is halachic science. This is the way the halacha defines, like something that Martin was telling me, which I can't remember now what it was. I can't remember right now, but when you say that something doesn't work that way in reality, so it depends on what you're referring to. But if, cooking, you said something about cooking to me. He said something about that when you're not allowed to heat water on Shabbat, right? It has to be heated from before Shabbat, because if it's a liquid, it's considered cooking. So he said, but we know it's not cooking the water or cooking the soup. It's just heating it. It's not cooking. I mean, it's true it gets cooked a little more, but you're not cooking it from scratch. It's not going from raw to edible. That's how we define cooking, right? Would you agree with me? You know, when somebody has a soup that's fully cooked, you don't say, can you cook the soup for me? No, you say, can you heat it up for me? But if it was raw, you would say, could you cook it till it's ready? Is everybody following me on that?
Yeah.
So when you say you can't heat up water or soup on Shabbat because it's cooking it, and somebody says, but that's not cooking, that's true in the way we speak. But in the world of halacha, that is one of the definitions of cooking. It's because it's the same word that it trips us up. It's like if they had created a new word, that might have been more helpful. But there's halachic cooking, and then there's like kitchen cooking, which is, you know, the way we live our lives from day to day. So when you heat up the soup, you're just heating it up. But in halachic terms, one of the ways to cook is by heating up liquid, which to me is so obvious that I have to like slow my brain down and figure it out. What is it that doesn't make sense to people? Because I know that on Shabbat you can't heat up liquid. So I just take that as a given that that's part of cooking on Shabbat. But that's cooking on Shabbat. That's not cooking just regular going in your kitchen and cooking. Do you understand the difference? There's reality and halachic reality. I'm sorry to say. So most of the time they coincide, but sometimes there are differences. Speaking of heating up soup or whatever it is you have in there. I was talking to you, Chelsea. He was bringing you here. Let me show you. This is what it means to cook. So I think it's important to understand that. So even though in your mind you'll say, oh, but the dishwasher is very hot, it's hot water, it's sudsy, but that doesn't help because the definition of the way you kosher a pot is not by putting it in the dishwasher and spraying it with boiling water. It has to be immersed or to be full of water and overflow.
Got it.
Okay, so it's important to differentiate so you won't like put in the dishwasher. That according to what you're saying, every time you put a pot in the dishwasher, it becomes parv again, right? That's basically what it would mean. But we know that's not true. Okay, so that's an important discussion for us. That's why it's important for you to hear, how do you kosher things for Pesach? Now, the way to kosher for Pesach is the same way you would kosher during the year. If you, by mistake, I don't know, did something with your pot and it needed to be kosher, you know, you made it not kosher, trait. You'd be surprised how many times people take something dairy and put in meat by mistake. They didn't realize, you know, it happened. Because in the course of life, we don't always, you know, there are many people, many cooks, and many people just do it without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to make sure that everybody knows what you have to do to kosher, to make your kitchen ready for Pesach. So Chelsea sent me a nice list, just so you know. I didn't, she was given this exercise a few days ago. So it's not like she did it in the 1 hour that you had. So don't feel bad that you didn't have an opportunity to do it. But I wanted, is that okay, Chelsea, that I read what you wrote?
Yeah, I actually have a clarifying question about what we were talking about too. With the
Oh,
grates for a gas oven, if I'm
yeah.
going to kosher the oven by putting it in self-cleaning mode, could I put the grates into the oven and kosher them both at the same time with
Yes,
that?
you can. Same thing if
Okay.
you're not using self-cleaning. If you're putting it on for like 45 minutes on the highest setting, you could do it that way as well. Keep the grates in. Now, sometimes your oven book manual says you don't put the grates on the self-cleaning. But from our experience, it's been fine. That's all I can tell you. The problem is that if you don't put it in on the self-cleaning, by the way, this is not the spraying hot water mode in the newer ovens, which I don't know about. I haven't seen that. But somebody actually asked that question. She says, oh, it cleans it. Similar to what you said, Mariana. She said, well, it sprays hot water, but that doesn't help. That's for an oven, and that was for a pot, but still. So yes, you put the things, your racks from your stovetop can also go into the oven while you're koshering the oven. Does that make sense, Mariana? Because they all have to be done by fire. I mean, it's not real fire, but there's fire in the oven, but hopefully it's not, turning on fire. But it used to be that people use blow torches, and that's not in the oven, but on top of the stove, on the, the racks on top of the stove. But that just feels also like it could be very unsafe. Okay. All right. I'm reading what Chelsea, did that clarify your question?
Yeah. Mhm.
If you're eating, please, you could stay on camera. It doesn't bother me at all. If that's the reason you're off, you go eat. Like, I know the timing is difficult. Okay. Pesach checklist. You clean the pantry, consolidate any chametz into one cupboard that'll be taped off. This is what's sold to HIR. So great. That's terrific. And sometimes you have in your freezer as well. So don't forget that. You might have in your freezer, and you could take chametz from anywhere in your apartment. What if, you made a big order and you had extra Cheerios boxes? Yeah, Cheerios or whatever, something that's chametz. So you might need to put that in a storeroom. So just when you sell your chametz, it says specify the locations. So the locations may also be freezer or the, a cabinet or something. Clean out refrigerator, throw away any chametz products, and wipe out the refrigerator. So I would add to that something, Chelsea. When you say chametz products in your refrigerator, what are you referring to? Like what example would you give?
Actually, it's really sweet. On yesterday while I was out, went through and he threw away everything with any sort of like browse ingredients in the ingredients list. So like I'm sure there were sauces and stuff.
Right.
And like,
but sometimes you have like almost a full bottle and you don't want to throw it away.
yeah, we
I'm just
just threw everything
saying,
away.
right. Like you could, but if you have a couple of bottles that you like and like you don't have to. So let's just differentiate between chametz and kitniot here. Does somebody want to differentiate for me the sauces? Because kitniot doesn't have to be thrown away at all. Doesn't have to be sold. It just has to be not used. So when you go through your refrigerator, you should separate the things that have kitniot that have chametz. So maybe the chametz ones you want to throw away, but the kitniot one, again, if you have 2 spoonfuls left, obviously, no big deal. But if you have, a decent amount, put them in a bag. First of all, look and see if you have to refrigerate it. Some of them can be left out for a week. But if you have to refrigerate it, you can put it in the bag, mark your kitniot, and put it in the back of your fridge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ariana, are you following that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, Jeff.
Kitniot is like the corn, the beans, and the rice.
I thought you said that you watched the thing. Did you watch it?
The first one.
Oh, you didn't watch the food one. Okay, no problem. I was just checking. Yes.
Is it
Kitniot are what we call legumes. Now they're more than
Right.
corn. It's corn and rice and
Soy.
peas and beans. And kasha, buckwheat, it's
Some
some
frozen yogurt.
sheets. Well, frozen yogurt on its own is not kitniot. It's only kitniot if it has kitniot in it. Yogurt is a dairy
I
product.
thought soy. Some things have soy.
Right. So that's not a dairy. So you're talking about the par of yogurts, the fake. Yeah, yeah. Anything with soy in it, exactly. You can't have tofu. Soy sauce. Teriyaki very often has soy in it. And then there's all sorts of seeds. Mustard you can't have. Whoever used mustard, I don't know, whoever used mustard as a flour obviously isn't common. What else? Chickpeas. So beans, let's not forget beans. So beans, so think of a cholent. Beans are kitniot. Barley is what?
That's
No, barley is
grain.
browse.
Probably some.
Is browse.
It's
Yeah,
browse.
great. Yeah. So barley is chametz and beans are kitniot. So my husband would say, well, there's no cholent then. Don't even bother making it. Even though there are nice ways to make a cholent, it's just not a year-round cholent. It's a Pesach cholent. So it has potatoes, maybe potato kugel on it, and meat and onions, and I don't know what else. So I just want to make sure. I know browse is good, right? It helps me as well. It's great. Okay. Moving on to, so again, the clean out refrigerator, yes, either throw away or put away chametz. I would just correct that a bit. I mean, I have to say, Chelsea, a lot of people, like if they had something chametz in their refrigerator, they would kind of be uncomfortable leaving it on Pesach in the fridge, even if it was marked chametz, you know? I could imagine that doesn't feel good. Whereas kitniot, not terrible. Because
Yeah.
it's not
I
biblical.
didn't even know that you could use items from the fridge if there was any chametz in the fridge. Like I kind of thought that those areas had to be like isolated and then you couldn't have anything from those cupboards. So that's interesting.
No. Well,
I really misinterpreted it.
Yeah, because the chametz can't jump out of the bag and cook it.
Yeah.
It's only because you need to not see it.
I think that's why I had that impression, because when I go to Alon's family's place, it's like taped, like those cupboards are taped off.
Right. So I guess a lot, correct. And why are they taped off? So you won't by mistake go into them. But in the refrigerator, so a lot of people would be very uncomfortable having chametz in the fridge, even if it was in a closed, dark paper plastic bag. And I understand that because it feels too much, right? It's biblical. But kitniot things like soy sauce, if there's no flour in, like I have gluten-free soy sauce, gluten-free teriyaki, those have no gluten. They have no chametz in it. They only have kitniot in it. So I don't see a problem keeping those over Pesach. That feels very, very, very different. You have to understand, a Sephardi would walk in and eat it. I mean, I don't think he would drink soy sauce, but you know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would be able to eat it, meaning it's not forbidden biblically. So a huge difference between chametz and kitniot. Okay, it's not that you couldn't use it, but you shouldn't be able to see it. Shouldn't be able to see it. Okay. Clean stovetop. I don't need to wrap with foil. That's true. But wait. Okay, you didn't say to kosher the stovetop though. So clean stovetop, but you have to actually kosher the burners, kosher all the metal pieces that are removable. So the burner itself, you kosher just by turning on the fire, but the metal grates have to pass through fire or go in the oven. I'm talking about the ones on the stovetop, not the ones in the, okay, so you missed, that's one little thing you missed. Clean out the microwave. So how do you kosher a microwave? That's why we have a very nice little guideline. How do you kosher a microwave? Who remembers? Mariana, how do you kosher a microwave? If you remember.
It was boiling water, right?
Yeah, but first, yeah, Chelsea. Just unmute.
Sorry. You have to not use it for 24 hours. And then I think you have to like run it on high for like 10 minutes.
So you must put in a cup of water or you'll ruin the microwave. Just make sure you put in the cup of water. Okay, you can't just run it. But the reason you wait for 24 hours and not use it is because what we said is that after 24 hours, according to halacha, It spoils any taste that was left in there. So you're doing a double thing. You're kind of spoiling the taste, and then you're koshering it by filling it with steam. So that's a cup. I usually take a disposable cup for that, but you could take a Pyrex cup, I guess, or a mug. But you have to run it. I don't know if you need 10 minutes. I think like 5 or 7 should be enough to have steam in there. You have to have some of the water evaporate. That's the point. Then you want to fill it again with water and move it. Why do you move it? Because the area that was underneath didn't get koshered,
Oh, wow.
right? Because the area under the cup never got koshered. Yay, Latoya's here. I'm so sorry it impinges on your work. I know that's difficult. Maybe next year if start at 8, because I feel kind of bad that you have to be late, Latoya. We're actually going over the koshering, or if there's any questions from the practicum. So I think it's important to talk about it. We're actually talking about how to make things kosher, how to kosher them. There was some misunderstandings here, and we're clearing them up. But I guess, Jeff, you'll fill her in on that.
Yes.
Or you can watch it afterwards and you can see it. Okay. Are you following all this, Mariana? Does it make sense, everything?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and if you print out my file, you can look at each thing. Each thing has just one paragraph, one little paragraph on how to kosher it.
Yeah, I have everything. It's just I don't know why I forgot that you have to do that for 24 hours. Now I remember.
Yeah, people forget. I get that. By the way, if you get somewhere like you go away on Chol HaMoed on the intermediate days, let's say you go away somewhere. Some people do that. In Israel, they do that a lot. And you get there and the microwave was not koshered, you can't kosher it. You're not allowed to kosher anything by boiling water, only by firing. Because what firing does is it actually burns the chametz to smithereens. So you're allowed to kosher a stovetop or an oven, but you cannot kosher any pots by boiling or the microwave.
I have a question about
On
burning.
Pesach, was that clear? On Pesach itself. You can do it before, obviously. Yeah, Mariana.
I have a question about burning hametz.
Oh.
When they say selling all the
Yeah.
hametz and burning the hametz,
Yeah.
what does it mean burning? Do they?
Yeah. So okay, we should probably talk about that. So there are, again, we have guidelines, and I think it's really important for you to read our guidelines. And then when you still have questions, to ask me. I think that's really important. Or to look up on My Jewish Learning, or in the book Jewish Literacy by Telushkin, he explained. But let me go through the main concepts. There's Bedika, Bitul, and Bior. So Bedika means to check. So does everybody know the custom of checking for chametz the night before Pesach? Do you know about that, Latoya?
Yeah, it should be burned and nullified.
Wait, hold on one second. Those are the other two. I'm still on the checking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it's like, just looking through your coat pockets and the couch and making sure.
No, so that you don't have to look through your coat pockets the night before Pesach. Hopefully you've cleaned them already. But
Okay.
yeah, Chelsea, you haven't had
It's
enough
like
time. That's why you can do it.
It's like more of like a showy ritual where you have like
Yeah.
a feather and a bag.
Oh, so I
Like
don't
you're
use
not
a
even
feather.
supposed to. Oh,
I do
really?
not use a feather. No, I do not use a feather. They used to use feathers.
Maybe
I
that's
mean,
just unique to like the people that
no.
I've done it with.
It's a common thing that you get a little kit for checking for chametz, and it has a feather and a candle. So we don't use candles anymore because they're dangerous and they drip wax. We just use a flashlight or the flashlight on my phone to look. So the idea, it is in a way showy, Chelsea, but it isn't in another way. If you, the night before Pesach, you go through the whole home and you literally go from room, you turn off the lights and you use your flashlight and you check, you're not really checking that you're going to find a piece of cake because assumedly you've cleaned everything. But it is going through and saying, you go with some, let's say you're not the only one living in your home, or even if you are, you go through every room and by lighting the flashlight, you're going into kind of the nooks and crannies. And you're checking to see, wait, did I clean this drawer? I don't remember doing that. So then you remember you have to do it. Or you go into each room and you say, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I miss this? Did I forget to do the coat pockets? One year I forgot to do my bag that I bring to shul, and it had didn't have cake in it, but it had candies. I just had, because I take sucking candies to show. So it is in a way showy, but I think the reason you think it's showy is because there's one second, Jeff, that there's a custom to put out 10 pieces of bread.
Yeah,
Why
I
do we
was
put out
thinking it was more some symbolic. Like I was like, okay, like I
have to
thought you
do this.
already checked. Yeah.
No, there's a blessing to make. When you make a blessing, this is not symbolic. You know, you actually make a blessing on getting rid of chametz, but the first way to do it is by checking for chametz. And the reason we put out 10 pieces of bread is because, I mean, some people don't, but the people who do, which is most people, it's like, oh, maybe I won't find any chametz, and then my whole blessing was like void. What did I do? I looked for chametz and I couldn't find any. So there's a very strong custom. Now, instead of using a feather to wipe off crumbs, we just put it on pieces of paper towel. That way it can't make a crumb. By the way, if you put out pita doesn't make crumbs. So that's a good way. Take a pita, divide into 10 pieces, and you don't have any crumbs. But so in my family, we always just took nice, we cut each paper towel. Well, today they're in smaller squares, but the regular size, we would cut each one into 4 or into 8, and we would put it, so somebody puts it out and the other person finds it. So in a way, you could say, oh, this is just showy, but the truth is, you don't know where that person hid it. Now, if you're living by yourself, that's a little more complicated. You know where you hid it.
Okay.
So I get that, but that's just still part of the custom. So the first part of getting rid of chametz, which is what bi'or is. Bi'or means to burn, but it also means to get rid of. You know, in Hebrew, the same word can have a few meanings. The first step, check. Well, obviously, the first step is you were supposed to clean your home. If you start cleaning your home the night before Pesach, you will not get to bed. I mean, there's just no way to do it. And it should take at least a few hours, even if you just need to do your kitchen. If you don't have little children trekking chametz around your house, you probably only have chametz in your kitchen. I don't know where else you would have it. Everybody following me here? I don't want to be talking and I'm not making sense. Latoya, I just want to make sure this is making sense to you. As that was not convincing.
Had a very long day. I apologize. But
that's
yeah.
fine. I get that. I don't mind if you tell me I'm just tired, so I'm not as exuberant as usual. That's fine. I just want to make sure you're really following if you can. I know it's terrible
Thank
when
you.
after a long work day, you got to concentrate for another 2 hours. So the first step is bidika or bidika, which means check. And look in your sidurim or look in, we have it in I put it in the guidelines. Guys, read the things that we made. We made really nice guidelines. If you, I think, do you want me to send you an email with all the guidelines? Do you not have them? It's on the Pesach page in the shul. The bayit.org/Pesach. We got so much stuff over there. So we have how to kasher, how to do this bi'or chametz, which is what Mariana is asking. So the night before Pesach, you do that with the flashlight, you take a bag, you put all the 10 pieces, count them. One year, my first husband, we either didn't put out 10 or, thank you. We either didn't put out 10 pieces or we didn't count them or the dog ate one. And we were up for like another hour looking for it. And we finally said, this is crazy. We have to go to sleep. So we've been very careful since then to always put out exactly 10 so that we'll take back exactly 10. We put in a bag. That's your symbolic getting rid of, Mariana, that most people burn the next morning.
Okay.
In addition, we sort of get rid of chametz in many different ways. We check for it. We burn symbolically. You don't burn all your chametz. Nobody takes hopefully, a big bag of cookies or Cheerios and, burns it all. We wouldn't finish. You don't have bonfires for that, like for hours and hours. You take a symbolic amount. If you happen to have a piece of bread, so throw it in. And then you also nullify, meaning you have this, it's in Aramaic, but you could say it in English, and it says, anything I didn't find, anything I didn't notice, anything in my possession, make it like the dust of the earth and make it like hefker, meaning anybody's allowed to take it. It doesn't belong to me anymore. We're like getting rid of it in every way that we can. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. You can give me a thumbs up instead of smiling, Latoya. I'm good with that. I think she needs some tea with caffeine, which is, by the way, what I took. I also had a long day and I was still delighted to come. I don't mean it that way. In fact, I always get more energized as I teach, so I'm not complaining at all. So those are the bedika, check, biur, burn, and bitul is nullify, or in another direction. But those are 3 different ways. They're all part of the same mitzvah, very special mitzvah to rid our homes of chametz. Now, this year is more complicated because this year, the day before Pesach is Shabbat. So you can't burn things on Shabbat. And by the time Shabbat comes, your food, like you could have chametz food, but you got to get rid of it by like 11 o'clock in the morning on Shabbat. So you can't have a lot. And if you already have your Pesach dishes out and your Pesach pots, that's a little complicated to leave out your chametz pots and cook and have both. The people following, it's important for me that you can follow what I'm saying, even if you didn't know it before I said it. Am I saying anything that makes no sense to you? That's important for me to know. No, okay.
Everything makes sense, but I have a question. Like, do you need to do the search the night before Pesach, or can you do it early given that Shabbat will be the night before?
So that's a great question. I'm going to tell you that it's written in our guidelines. So you have to look at our guidelines on Erev Pesach on Shabbat is a very special one we made this year, which is both what we do every year and what's special for this year. And it gives very clear guidelines. And trust me, if you come back to me and you say this isn't clear, I will make it clearer and rewrite it. Like, it's important for me that people understand what I'm writing. Otherwise, what's the point of me writing them? So, but I will tell you. I mean, that doesn't mean I won't tell you. I'll still tell you. So what happens is you want to do everything like you do every year, because otherwise it's confusing. So you still check Thursday night. You can't check Friday night. First of all, you can't, and you can't use a flashlight, and you just can't do any of that. And we just don't do that. And also, by the time Shabbat comes, you better have gotten rid of almost every single piece of chametz you have, or put it away, right? Or put it away and sold it. Look, my husband has a liquor cabinet, not mine at all, but it's his. And he estimated that there's like, I don't know, $300 in there. So you don't have to get rid of that. Nobody's asking you to throw away $300 or give it to someone. So we're going to close it up. We're going to put a big tape on it that you can't open it that says chametz. In fact, it's too easy to open. We have to close it in a way that it shouldn't open, because you're not allowed to see chametz if you can help it. And that, you open it up, that's true chametz, because whiskey is made from grain, or some of it is, at least, maybe not all of it. So you either have to close it off and sell it. Remember, we have to sell it. You have to get on the Buy It website and sell your chametz. Really, you really have to look at our page and study it, and reach out to me if something isn't understood. Some of you are already, by next Pesach, going to be Jewish. So you really need to know what to do. So it's okay for this Pesach. Next Pesach, make sure you spend even more time learning it again, right? Really, and this is just for your good. It's not, right? So that you know what to do. These are just the basics. Like, if you make a mistake, God understands. I just want to explain that. Don't think oh my God, what did I do? You do the best you can, but you have to invest the time to learn. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, you're very lucky, everybody on here, that you all have a Jewish partner who has knowledge. And that's really helpful. It just makes your life easier, because they probably know what to do, because they've been doing it for many years. All right. So don't be so worried, but you should learn it for yourself, so you know what to do. So what we do is let's take an example that Pesach started Friday night. That would be easier. By the way, Pesach can start on a Friday night. There are years when it comes on a Friday night. So you would check Thursday night, right? Everybody with me? The night before Pesach, you go with the flashlight or your phone, whatever, dark, somebody puts out 10 pieces, you check, you make the blessing before, or your partner makes the blessing, because you're not Jewish yet, but as soon as you're Jewish, you should. But if you're not, you could practice making the blessing this year. That's okay with me. And then you put everything in the plastic bag, and you make the nullification exactly as it's in our guidelines. Everybody with me? There's 2 nullifications, by the way. So we're imagining we're in a year where Friday night is Pesach. So you do that Thursday night. Friday morning, you go out to, I don't know, the Buy It driveway where somebody made a fire, the maintenance people. You throw you eat your last toast till 10:45, you finish eating, at 11:50, you have to finish burning. There's an hour difference between the two. So you have time to actually finish eating and then go burn whatever's left or sell it or whatever you need to do. You take it, you throw it on, you say the nullification. You're pretty much done. You did your badika, you're checking, you did your bior, you're burning, and you did your bitul nullification. Everybody with me? That's what you would do if Pesach was Friday night. Now let's take this year where Pesach is Saturday night. We still do almost everything the same. Why? Because if we didn't, it would be so confusing. Like next year you would say, wait, didn't we burn last year in the afternoon? So theoretically you could burn in the afternoon because you're actually allowed to eat chametz until Shabbat morning because Pesach doesn't actually start till Saturday night. But we don't want to confuse people. So we say, okay, do your badika Thursday night, just like, as if Friday night was Pesach. Say your nullification, put your bread in a bag. Third Friday morning before 11:50, whatever it is, burn it. But don't say the extra nullification because if you do, you won't be able to have any chametz of any kind from Friday morning to Saturday morning. And you're still going to maybe want to eat a little bit. Now we come to Friday night. It's time to have your Shabbat meal. Probably you have Pesach food. I would say most, unless you're eating in the shul, we're going to have Pesach food, but we're going to have it on whatever, on chametz. It doesn't matter. They're cooking it in chametz pots because that makes it cheaper. And we're just going to throw everything away at the end. We're not keeping anything. But I wouldn't want you to do that in your home. It's too confusing. So how are you going to wash? Remember, when you have a meal on Shabbat, you have to wash for bread. Everybody with me on that? You're not allowed to use matzah because we don't eat matzah the day before Pesach. Some people don't eat matzah from a month before Pesach so that the taste will be fresh in your mouth. Some people don't eat just Erev Pesach the day before. In any case, we don't use matzah. But wait, we're eating Pesach food. Wait, how are we going to manage with, what if we kept one roll or two rolls, just two rolls, right? Two little rolls or two pitas or whatever's a small amount. So usually what people do is they go outside or they go someplace else, not near the Pesach food. They wash, they make hamotzi, they eat the roll, brush themselves off, and whatever's left, put in, if there's left, if you can finish it, great, if you have enough people. If not, put the rest in a bag, and the next day you'll probably like spritz bleach on it or something. That's another way of burning food because you can't eat it afterwards. It's not edible. Because after 11 or 12 o'clock Shabbat morning, you're not allowed to own chametz. So how are you going to get rid of it if you can't light a fire? Okay. Now Shabbat morning comes, you have the same problem. If you're before 10:45, you can still eat chametz. So again, you might wash. In our show, what we're doing is we're starting to daven at 8:30. At 9:30, we're going to stop before the Torah reading. We're going to have a meal, and we're going to come back into shul and finish reading the Torah and finish davening. Are people like in shock about what I'm saying, or does it make sense? It's like there's nuance here about when you're allowed to eat or not, but you want to have a second meal on Shabbat. Now, some people say you can have something called egg matzah. Who knows what egg matzah is? So egg matzah, what is matzah made out of, Chelsea? What's matzah made out of?
It's,
Two ingredients.
I just thought it was unleavened like flour.
Well, flour
Maybe
is by
I'm
definition,
wrong.
it's unleavened. No, it's
Yeah.
pronounced unleavened, but the flour by itself is neither leavened nor unleavened.
Water.
It's raw.
Water.
So water
I
and
actually have
flour.
no idea.
Only two ingredients.
Oh.
Okay, so two ingredients, flour and water. That's okay. No salt, no yeast, nothing. Just flour. That is the only thing you're allowed to make with flour, or you make it before Pesach generally. That's what matzah has. But there's some people, older people, sick people, whatever reason, the matzah is too hard for them or they can't. So for them, you're allowed to use eggs also in the matzah. That makes it much easier to eat and much easier to digest. Only for people who need it for a specific reason. Everybody, but that's egg matzah. Unless you need it, we don't eat egg matzah on Pesach.
Okay.
Okay, unless you need it for some reason. But when Erev Pesach is on Shabbat, if you don't want to use chametz, because it's too complicated to figure out what to do with the leftover pita, there is an allowance to use egg matzah. And then you could eat it at your meal because it's Pesach-dik. It doesn't have any chametz in it. It's kosher for Pesach. It's just our custom not to eat it. How are we doing over here? We haven't gotten to the Seder, which we might not get to so much, but I think this is important for you to understand the nuances. Yeah, Chelsea.
Why
The more questions, the
are
better it
you
is. Yeah.
Why are you not allowed to have egg matzah? Because like I know you can have eggs. Like people make like matzah bra, which is like
Matzah
basically eggs
brai. Matzah
bra,
brai.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like I just don't really know why you can't have egg matzah.
Okay. Matzah brai is not flour. It takes baked matzah and uses it for making food. Matzah pizza, same thing. Matzah mel, ground up baked matzah, and you use that instead of flour. Nobody bakes with flour on Pesach. I mean, nobody observant bakes with flour. Only matzah that's been baked already, flour and water. Right. Now, our custom, that's how we have matzah, just flour and water. There's probably some halacha involved. Egg made with flour and water before Pesach and not allowed to rise, and in the 18 minutes is still kosher for Pesach. Our custom is not to eat it. Very strong custom.
I saw crackers today because I've never seen them before. You know, Manishevich, egg matzah crackers.
Egg matzah crackers. I have a question. Do you have it? Did you buy it?
I bought one.
Can you show it to me? I want to see what it says. Do you have it?
Okay.
Because most of the crackers that we buy are not made with any of the browse, any of the 5 grains. They're made with potato, basically. They're still yummy, but and so what bracha would you make on them? Quick check.
Hamotzi?
Nope. I just said they're not made of the 5.
Oh, these.
Okay, so egg matzah crackers. What's in the egg matzah crackers? What does it contain?
Sorry. Sugars, fiber.
Potato flour?
Unbleached Passover wheat flour, pure apple or grape juice, whole eggs, salt.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Only this year, usually they don't sell this. It's unusual to sell it because not only do we not put eggs in when we make matzah, we usually only put in water and not a fruit juice, right? It said that there was like grape juice or something in it. That is, I think, hamotzi, I think. I think you can make hamotzi. I think it's bread. And matzah crackers, what's in there?
So this one, it says wheat flour and water.
So I think what they did was they made matzah, but in little things. So they're not really crackers. I've never seen that either.
Me neither. That's why I bought it. But
so I've never seen that, but I guess it's like making little matzahs. If it's just wheat flour and water.
I bought it at a Glad kosher store. That's why I was surprised when you were telling me now about, I mean, not me, but us.
When I was telling you what? The tam-tams, that's like little matzahs.
Yeah, but we were just talking about it, that when, you add eggs, it's just for the people who need it.
No, that's not in the red box. That's in the other box.
Yeah, in this one.
So in that box, this year, you can eat egg matzah on Erev Pesach. So I guess that's why they made it.
Because it says product of Israel.
Well, it doesn't matter. Israel and America are the same. We both have Erev Pesach on Shabbat. Doesn't matter if it's from Israel.
Okay.
But usually we don't. Usually only because of Erev Pesach is complicated. We can't eat regular matzah. Eating chametz is complicated. So they made this kind of interim thing, but relaxed the law because this year is complicated. 1 second. Just a minute. Okay. Mariana, I was not questioning that it wasn't kosher. Of course you bought it in a kosher store. They don't sell these. They only sell them on Pesach. Nobody's
No,
making
this
them
is
up randomly. But the matzah crackers, I've never seen that, but I guess it's like little matzahs, teeny
Mhm.
little matzahs. Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure. Be interesting to say what bracha you make on it. It can only be hamotzi. I don't know. I have to look it up. But the other one would only be this year. We don't generally, and again, unless you're older or sick or have some problem that you can't
Should
digest
I
regular
open it
matzah.
should I open it so we look how they look?
You can just keep it separate from the chametz.
No, I mean to show in class.
Sure,
Guys
sure.
want-
We'd be happy to see it. Sure. Okay, what other questions about either? Oh, wait, I was going through Chelsea's. 1 second, I'm just spotlighting you so you can show us. I was going through, Chelsea made a nice list of how she's koshering her home. All right, so we said clean out microwave and then you'll have to kosher it. Clean the stovetop, but you have to kosher it. Wipe out oven, set on self-cleaning mode to kosher. And you can put the grates and the spiders on top of the stove in there. All right, you showing us? Mariana, you're spotlighted. Oh yeah, they look like regular crackers. I just wonder what bracha you make on it. I don't know. I don't know if it's hamotzi or mizonot. It's just, my question is it made from flour or is it made from matzah that's ground up? I guess it's made from flour.
It says wheat flour.
Yeah, so interesting.
Passover wheat flour.
Yep. So they made like egg matzah, I think, for this year, I guess.
Unbleached, unbromated.
Yeah, okay. All right, kosher the kitchen sink. Do not use hot water for 24 hours and pour boiling water from tea kettle all over the sink. Yes, you need to do this. It doesn't matter that I'm sorry, what is it you were asking? Only use for water all over the sink. Do I need to do this? Yes, you have to kosher your kitchen sink because over the 51 weeks of the year, you had chametz in there with hot water. So yeah, you have to do that. Clean the countertops. If you can pour boiling water on them. That is preferred. If for some reason it'll break them or they just can't handle it, then you don't have to. So you also want to add boiling water to pour on them or steaming. We have a steamer we use. Wash floors, table, seats, correct. Things you need. Okay, that's separate. That's your list. Bowls, plates. Make some present. Go grocery shopping. Do I need to tape off the cupboard? We have all our non-kosher. Yes, you want to close all the cupboards either with a rubber band or with a piece of tape. So it's very clear because it'll remind you, don't open it. Because it's too easy to just open it and take out a plate. You won't think about it. We do it 51 weeks of the year, 1 week of the year. I always say by the time we get used to Pesach and where everything is, like it's over. The second week would be easier. Search for chametz with alon b'dikat chametz. Very nice. Now you asked me about your coffee machine. If you never use flavored, it could be also undecaf. I'm not sure. I have it in my things, but even if you use it for decaf, you can leave it for 24 hours, clean it well, run it through with water a few times so that it comes out, clear. That's important. All right. Any other question about this year, about koshering, about anything? Latoya, are you going to be koshering your home for Pesach?
I believe we are koshering Jeff's apartment this year.
So you're going to be there the whole time?
Well, probably here and there, in and out, but I don't know about the whole time.
If you're in and out, then you have to kosher your home.
Okay.
Now, you may not need to do a lot of kosher. I don't know what you'd use, but you need to make that same list of what you need to do to prepare for Pesach in your home.
Okay.
Now, you may not be doing a lot of cooking, I don't know, but so that same list of how to prepare your home for Pesach, you have to aggregate the chametz, you have to take it out, you have to put it away, you have to sell it, you have to separate the kitniot that you don't eat them. I mean, it's not a huge amount of work, but it still has to be done. Your refrigerator has to be completely cleaned from any crumbs and, it shouldn't have any chametz in it. You need to kasher your stovetop, your oven if you're going to use it, your microwave if you're going to use it, your sink, your countertops. So, I mean, it's a few hours of work. It's not days and days of work. But you need to aggregate your chametz. You need to seal everything up. You need to do the minimum. And I'd love to see a list from you of what you're going to do.
Okay.
From you to
Yeah, it's only
Mariana
me
and
that's
from...
here, so it shouldn't be much.
Great, that's fine. One second, Gabby, I want that from you, and Mariana from you as well, okay? Everybody should be kashering. Yeah, Jeff, what do you want to say?
I actually was telling her that since, maybe this is my opinion, since she's not necessarily under an obligation, I would show her what I would be doing. And if she was still at her apartment eating, she's not necessarily under an obligation, so I was just gonna make,
We've been through this before where you keep saying if she's not under an obligation, she shouldn't do it. But why? The only reason that you're not doing it is because you haven't actually converted yet, but like you still need to do it. Why take that way out if this is the way you're going to be the rest of your life? I don't understand that approach. I don't think that, I mean, if you were just beginning and I just met somebody today who's interested in converting and she hasn't really studied anything yet. So of course I couldn't tell her to kasher on for Pesach. There were too many obstacles. Like she doesn't know anything about it, right? She's too much at the beginning of her journey. But if you already know how to do it and you're going to be converting in a few months, I don't see a reason. I would say opposite. In fact, Chelsea, that was my conversation, was that, she thought at the beginning, maybe I won't, but then she said, well, actually, this is a great way to practice it, is to do it. It's always remember that when you're in the driver's seat, you know how to drive the car. But when you're in the passenger seat, it's never the same. When you watch somebody do it, of course, you'll learn something. But doing it yourself is very, very different. I just don't see any reason not to. In fact, I would say, I think you absolutely should, because the next time you do it, it's going to be for real. And it's already really for real. It's like doing Shabbat. So you could, I mean, we wouldn't have anybody on the conversion path until a day before their conversion. They didn't keep kosher. They didn't keep Shabbat. They didn't, we just wouldn't do that. That makes that's not the way we view it. We view it as you do as much as you keep doing and doing more and more and more. So keep everything. And we said one little thing you wouldn't, you can flip on a light or something, just to not keep one thing. But practice as much as you possibly can. Jeff.
okay.
Different approach. Especially if you're going to be home. I mean, if you're not going to be home, that's different. If you're not going to be, you have to sell your chametz, you still have to put everything, but you don't have to kasher anything. But you still can't leave it as is. And please read the guides. They tell you what to do. Gabby, I don't know where you're going to be.
I'll mostly be at Josh's house, so I'll make a list and help
Well,
kasher.
what about, are you going back to your home? Is that your parents' home? No.
It's my parents' home, but I stay over basically here a lot. So
Do you think you'll be there the whole Pesach?
yeah, I have plans to do that.
If you're going to be here at Josh's the whole Pesach, which will probably be very nice, especially since they're still in a state of mourning. So I'm sure that you'll be adding to the, making it easier for people. Then yeah, why don't you make a list of all the things that have to be done, mostly so we can check them back and forth and we can see if you're missing. So I want to know that you have an understanding. And Latoya, this doesn't mean, obviously you make a mistake, like we get that. That's why we're learning. This is a learning process. Okay. Mariana, you as well. Are you going to be in your home?
No, we're going away actually
You're
for
going away?
yeah.
The whole
year
Pesach you're going away?
We're going away the whole Passover this year.
That's awesome. Where are you going?
Florida.
Nice. Is that like a hotel that's kosher for Pesach?
Yeah, we'll be next to our friends and they're very religious.
Beautiful.
No, they
So,
have.
okay, so Gabby's, in Florida.
Yeah. Are
I
you?
don't know. It's a big state.
Where are you, Gabby?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale will be in Miami, Bell Harbor.
Well, I'm in Miami a lot because I work in Miami.
Oh, okay. So maybe we meet.
Oh my
I'll
God,
get
that would be so nice if you could meet. That would be so awesome, but you have to send a picture.
Yes.
Okay, we will.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So what I want you to do, Mariana, in that case, you don't have to cash or anything, but you still have to leave your home because for some strange reason, it could always happen that one has to come home, right? It can happen. So you always have to leave it. I mean, if you left 6 months before, you didn't have to. Like there's 30 days before, I think you don't have to. But if you're leaving close, so then you still should do all the pieces. In other words, put all your chametz together or just close the cabinets and write chametz on them. And
I was
any
already
chametz,
doing it a little bit this weekend because I had
amazing,
time. And after
great.
class, I wanted just to, kind of practice.
Amazing, amazing. So you want to go through your fridge and
Yeah.
put together the kidney oats. I don't worry about so much. Soy sauce, I don't care about so much. You're allowed to see soy sauce, just you're not coming home. If you came home, don't eat the soy sauce. But chametz, you should somehow, and then sell your chametz. Do it. Doesn't cost money. I mean, you can give money because there is a very strong custom to give what's called ma'ot chitim, which literally means money for grains, but it basically helps people, have money for Pesach. That's what that we give. We give a lot of money out to people who don't have enough money. So that's, you're invited to do that, but that's up to you. But you should go on the website and our website and just sell your chametz, sell it, but you have to write there where the chametz is. So it might be in your freezer, in your kitchen, wherever it is. But imagine, Mariana, not that you're eating in your home, but that you happen to walk in your home. I don't know, chas v'chalil, there's a flood, there's something, you have to come home. I don't know why. It shouldn't happen. But you walk in the door, you shouldn't be able to see any chametz. Okay? But for some reason you had to come home, so you'd go out and buy food. Okay. You don't have to cash or anything because you'll just, you'd figure it out or find somebody to help you. But you at the very least have to be able to open your fridge and not see any chametz there. To open your freezer would have to be closed or at least taped shut. Your cabinets that have chametz, cookies, crackers, anything you have pasta, you have to put it and write chametz on it, all right? So that's a good exercise for you.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I think we're finally ready for the Seder. Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole Seder because obviously we're tired. It's been a long day. And hopefully you'll be with other people who are making a Seder. Let's tell you, where are you having your 2 Sedarim this year? Let's see. Let me hear where everybody's having Seder. Let's start with that.
So both of Jeff's friends invited us to both nights of Passover. So that's where we will be for both nights.
You'll be one night, one and one night the other, you mean? It's so nice, but not the ones who are not so discreet. These are ones who you're comfortable with.
What do you mean by discreet?
You had one person who told you something not so nice about conversion.
Oh, I'm no longer. No,
We're not.
She's
Okay.
no.
She's
It's
out of
definitely another family. Yeah, she's out the picture. Another family who's very sweet, very kind, very open.
Wonderful. That's
So, yeah.
amazing. I'm so happy for you. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to really learn and take part.
And
Really,
last
really,
year
really
it was
nice.
also the same as well. I think we went to 2. That's when I saw her with her family, and then the first night, I believe, was also at another rabbi's home. He welcomed us into his home. So
That's
this will be
beautiful.
my second.
Beautiful. That's great. And the days and where are you eating? Like, are you cooking, Jeff? Do you guys cook?
I don't think we're cooking though.
You're not cooking at all the whole
Not the
Pesach?
first 2 nights. Oh, the whole Pesach. I mean,
you have 6 meals, Shabbat and 2 days of Chag.
I'll probably be purchasing.
That's fine. Purchasing is fine. No problem. Do you have our guidelines on how to kosher and do everything?
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, great, great. And then during Chol HaMoed, you have Pesach pots. You have everything double for Pesach. Like, do you have a frying pan? Can you make mashed potatoes?
Better go out and get one.
You don't have. Okay,
Frying
yes.
pan-
So
I
you
don't
should go
have
out
a
and get one.
frying pan. I tossed out all my frying pans from when we
I
had
think
our
you
last
needed to. I remember that.
conversation.
So I think you might want to get a dairy frying pan if you like to have eggs. That's a nice thing to have. Matzah brie, which Chelsea, I think Chelsea said, which is dipping matzah into egg and milk or something like that, or with cinnamon sugar, whatever you like to eat, or just, I mean, I'm gluten free, so I just eat mostly what I eat all year round. Just none of the, the bread stuff. I use the crackers. Just make sure you have food. Now, Riverdale's lots of food, so you could buy everything, no problem. But make sure you have food. You should not be hungry on Pesach. It upsets me when people said, I had nothing to eat. That's terrible. And if you have any questions, reach out to me, Latoya and Jeff, okay? Lots of places to buy food, buy ready-made. But make sure you kosher your oven and your stove and your microwave so you can heat things up. Okay? All right, cool. Gabby.
Well, a local rabbi invited us into his home, so we're gonna be going there for one of them, and then the other one will be at Josh's aunt.
The aunt's house.
Mhm.
That's great. That's great. How many of Josh's siblings will be there?
I think just his the one that's my age, Ellie. So just him. I don't think his other two siblings are able to make it this year, but yeah.
And his father.
Yes, and his father.
I'm glad. Okay, great, great. How about you, Mariana? Tell me who you're going to be with. And are you doing it where you have to make the Seder or it's a hotel?
No, we'll be at our friends and they will make it because they live
Oh, you're
next to
going to
each
your
other.
friends?
We'll stay
Oh,
we'll
nice.
stay at the hotel, but one friend lives next to on one side of the hotel, another on the other side. So we planned it.
Amazing.
They persuaded us
Fantastic.
because they moved to Florida. All our friends moved to Florida.
I'm thinking persuaded, like, come to us for Florida for Pesach and you don't have to make Pesach. And I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah, that's
I
that's how we felt.
didn't take a lot of persuasion.
Exactly.
Okay,
For me
Chelsea, tell
now.
us what you're doing. Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna be in Riverdale with Alon's family, but then I'm
Yay.
coming back for some of the in-between days.
Which are called Chol HaMoed. We should use the terms. Chol HaMoed.
Is that just for Passover that we use that term? Is there any other time that we
Yes.
use that term?
Who knows which is the other time we use Chol HaMoed?
Never heard it.
It's the intermediate days in Hebrew, which means Chol means weekday and Moed means holiday. So it's the weekday of the holiday.
Oh, would it be
Wait, Jeff. Wait.
She has it. She has
where
it.
it's Sukkot? Would it be during Sukkot?
Yay! Woohoo! Bingo! You got the double jeopardy today. Excellent. Yes. So Shavuot, remember, is only one day in Israel, 2 days outside. There's no intermediate days. It's a very, very short holiday. But Sukkot and Pesach are both like around a week. And they have holiday at the beginning, holiday at the end. And in the middle, the intermediate day is called Chol HaMoed. Very good. Excellent. Okay. So you're going to be Chol HaMoed, and then you're coming back to Riverdale for the last days? Awesome. Great. So we get to see you. That's the best part. I hope you come to the show a little bit. Okay, did we get everybody? Let's go. Yes, we covered it. All right. I'm not going to actually go through the whole Seder because it'll just take us an hour and a half. But let's talk about pieces of it. First of all, I hope everybody has some Haggadah. This is a kid's Haggadah. It has Play-Doh. It's so cute. There's little Play-Doh figures. Yeah, that's a good one also. You definitely want one in Hebrew and in English. There's actually a new one I got this year, which I think is awesome. And I think you should order it if you don't have one. It's called the Yedid Nefesh Haggadah. And what's really, first of all, he has two kinds. If you get the spiral binding one, it's like $2 more. But what's nice is that it lays flat. You don't have to put like a spoon to keep it open, as you're going through. You get that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like
It's
that.
written in Hebrew and English. It has some transliteration. So that'll be good for you guys. Does it have transliteration actually? No, it doesn't. It just has English. Never mind. I lied. Okay, it just has Hebrew and English, but it's really nicely done. I recommend it. I think it's a good Haggadah. Write it down. Oh, I probably have to send you the. Well, look.
I actually
if you
have
can't
one
find it-
more question about prep for Pesach. I'm just realizing as I'm looking through my list for taping off cupboards. I know that you need to tape. I know you need to sell your actual chametz and tape those cupboards off. Do you need to tape off the cupboards that you keep like cookware that you're not koshering that you wouldn't be using for Passover? And do you
So
need to
Gabby, we
sell
spoke about that. What did we say about that? The cabinets that have dishes and pots in it that are chametz stick, that have chametz. Do you remember we spoke about that a little earlier? No. So what did people here think? Do you have to close them off and tape them?
You have to close them up.
You have to close them off
So
and
you
tape them.
don't, so you don't get confused.
So you don't get confused. Exactly. Because how easy is it to open up the one you use all year round and it looks normal and you just don't think for a moment. And that's why you have to do it. But you asked, everybody get that? The pots, the silverware, everything that you're not using on Pesach, you have to just put a tape on it or something. You could cover it with brown paper. You could do whatever works, but you want to make sure it's not easy to get to it.
You can
Because
child.
it'll just be too easy to open the cabinet. What?
You can baby proof it.
Yeah, you can baby proof it, exactly. Now you asked the second question, do you have to sell it? So here's the problem. If you sell it, you'd have to tovel all of them again because they would belong to a non-Jew. We sell our chametz to a non-Jew, right? I see that smile. So if we sell all of our dishes and well, maybe dishes you don't have to, but all your glasses and all your metal and all, you'd have to take everything and tovel them again. And there's no problem because it's not food. You don't see the chametz, you just can't use it. See the difference? So you're not owning chametz because you own a frying pan that sort of has chametz in it. That's not called owning chametz. But if you put something in it and you didn't kosher it, then chametz would kind of exude from the walls and go into your food. That's why you're not allowed to use it. Okay, great question. Anyway, I highly recommend this, the Yedid Nefesh Haggadah. Highly, highly recommend it. There's a man in Riverdale who's selling it. I don't know what to do if he sends it out or if you're going to Florida or if it's, I mean, probably, but I think it's a great Haggadah. Another one, Rav Avi wrote one called, I don't remember, just a moment. He called it Yehi Or, Let There Be Light, Rabbi Weiss.
I've seen that at the
There's
bookstore.
soft cover and hardcover.
That's
So
by Rabbi Avi Weiss.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two new ones. People have many, many different ones. Now,
I have a
there's
very
50
silly question. Oh,
Hey, we have Alon here. Hello. Nice to see you. Okay, yeah.
so I know you just said, forgive me for this question, but okay. So
Do not ever apologize. Remember what I say. If you have a question, it's legitimate because you don't know the answer.
correct, I don't. Okay, so all of my plates, I'm gonna go get plastic plates and spoons and forks and all utensils and all that to use for the days. But I'm gonna tape all my dishes and all my glassware and my utensils and everything up. But the pasta that I have, like dry pastas, I have to sell that. That doesn't stay in my cupboards, correct?
Well, it can say if you're taping your whole cupboard.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to sell.
You have to sell it. You have to sell it.
Oh.
You're not allowed to own it. You're not allowed to own it on Pesach. You're not allowed to own it. You're not allowed to get any benefit from it. You're not allowed to see it.
Got it.
Okay.
Got
So
it.
usually what we do though is we go through our stuff. We take out the actual chametz, like the pasta, the crackers, the cereal, the cookies, the whatever.
Yeah.
We put them together usually either on one shelf or in one area, not just dispersed. And we write, but it has to be like in a bag and closed so you won't see it inadvertently. You may have stuff in your freezer, do the same thing.
Right. I have rolls and stuff for like, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, perfect.
All
But I
those
still
rolls
have to sell. Okay.
You have to sell them.
Got it.
So like take a Target bag, put all the rolls in and put it in your freezer.
Right.
So even if you open your freezer, you won't see them.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you asked the question. You needed to just in your mind make that differentiation. I could tell you were working. I could see the wheels turning. All right. More questions? You can always ask. You can always like interrupt me now. But we're pretty much, I think we've searched for chametz, we've burnt our chametz, we've nullified our chametz, we have taped everything up, we've sold everything, right? We're now on Shabbat in 2 weeks, or almost 2 weeks. Let's say Shabbat, it's time for the Seder. So all of you have been at Seder, so I don't have to tell you that, like, you know what? Each of you can go around and tell me what's one thing you remember from the Seder. Chelsea, start us off. Chelsea, what's one thing you remember from the Seder? One thing.
Okay, so one thing I remember from
You can pick a food if you want.
one thing I remember is doing the shehianu, where you have like a fruit for the first time and then you say a blessing.
That's on Rosh Hashanah.
Oh my God, yeah, you're right.
No, it's fine. It's great. But now let's go to the Seder, the Pesach Seder. A lot of
Okay.
people. What's on the
Yeah.
table? What's on
You
the
go
table?
around, everyone takes a turn reading.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice. Beautiful, beautiful. That's fine. Latoya, what do you remember from the Seder? One thing.
Well, two things. The first is to eat before you get there because it's very long. But the
Well,
second,
wait. You're not supposed to eat right before you get there because you're supposed to eat the matzah with.
it's a
But
joke.
we all no, it's not a joke because in my family I grew up not eating Erev Pesach and I was like a basket case, but you have no choice. But in my since I have my own family, we eat a real meal, but not too late in the afternoon. But yes, I agree. I understand because really the meal, I really hate to break this to you, but maybe for some people it's not true. But the meal was never the main part of my Seder growing up. You eat so many other things, just like it's 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And like that's not the main thing. You eat so much matzah, so much maror, so many other things. And it's so late at night. It's terrible for me to eat so late at night. It's just that's not, you want to have a nice meal, have it the next day. But the Seder, to me, that's like not the main meal at all, but the main part. But that's me and probably my
Yes.
family.
So, but what I did remember the most that I think stuck with me throughout is the salty tears, the crying like aspect.
Yeah,
So
the salt
the
water.
the salt
Beautiful.
water.
So we
That's
dip
what I
into
remember
salt
the most.
water 2 things. One of them is karpas. That's a green vegetable. I actually made this for you guys. I made you a sort of Seder plate, but I didn't have everything. So this is an egg that's not hard boiled. So I don't want it to break. And this is lettuce, which is the maror. And this is what we might dip into the salt water, either celery or carrot or parsley. Sorry. And this is horseradish. I did kind of a mock for you. Okay. So, and then we also dip one more thing. Most people, not just the Paschal lamb, there was a Korban Pesach, there was another sacrifice offering that was brought every single holiday. And if to remember that, we put hard-boiled eggs into salt water. So a lot of people have that. And that's during the meal. Thank you. Excellent. Remember the tears. Love it. Gabby.
I remember having 4 cups of wine. I think that's
Yeah.
the same as the 4
grapes.
exiles or something.
We have a
Yeah, each one
question.
is 4 different, just 1 second. 4 different ways that God took us out. God saved us, God brought us, God redeemed us. Right. Yeah, each one for that. Perfect. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, what was the question, Chelsea?
Okay, we had a question about the glasses of wine. Do you have to drink a certain amount of wine? I remember you saying that you only drink
Drink the
small
whole thing.
glasses.
Right, because I drink the whole thing. So the minimum for Pesach is more than this. This is 3.3. I think it's like 4.2 ounces for Pesach. It's a larger amount. And yes, there's 2 levels. One level is to drink most of the cup. And the next level, well, actually, sorry. Let's make it easy. One is that you should drink most of the cup. The other one is you should drink the whole cup. Now, I specifically buy wine with low alcohol because of that. That's like a lot of alcohol for me to have even on a full stomach, let alone an empty stomach. And I use grape juice a lot because I can't handle the alcohol. And I don't use this cup. I use a bigger one because this isn't big enough for Seder night. Seder night, we kind of supersize things. So everything's a little better, a little harder, a little bigger, a little. So I use a bigger cup, but not so big. And I'll take it with me because I'm not home for either of the Seders. So I'm going to actually take it with me. So I have the low alcohol wine. So again, the first level is you should drink most of the cup. The second level
What
is
do you
drink the
mean
whole
by
cup.
levels?
Level of beautifying the mitzvah.
Okay.
And I hear my father's voice in my ear. So
Yeah.
So Chelsea, so if you want to, just don't pick a big wine glass. Just pick a
Well,
smaller
what's the
one.
minimum size is there a minimum size
Like
that
this
you
one.
need it to
Or
I
be?
have one.
This is Judaism. There's always a minimum size. Wait, Mariana's showing. Let me look that up.
I'm all prepared. I have wine here.
That's beautiful.
But it's not that big. It's but not
Well,
too
how much is it? How much is it? Measure it.
I would say like 100 grams.
No, that is not 100 grams. 100 grams isn't even a cupful.
Like a shot.
That's not enough. Then it's not big enough to make. If that's true, it's not enough. The minimum is 3.3 ounces, which is almost a half a cup. Oh, wait, hold on one second. For Seder, it's bigger. .3 fluid ounces. So 100 and, oh, maybe she's right. 112 milliliter.
I mean, I know for sure that this is for Seder because when we bought it, that's what they said. Maybe it looks small, but on the
It's
computer.
about 4 ounces. Figure about a half a cup. Nope, she's right. 100 is enough. That is enough. Wait 1 second. And the minimum you should drink is more than half. Yeah. Okay. Now, some people say it's more, but you could go according to that. Diluting wine with water. It says here you should have minimum of alcohol, but that's not for me. Okay. So yes, the minimum should be, let's say 4 ounces. That would be the easiest way to understand it. Okay. 4 ounces, which is a very small amount. And you want to drink the whole thing or most of it. There's also minimum amounts for the matzah and minimum amounts for the maror. Okay, what do you remember, Mariana?
I mean, I remember whatever everybody said, but I also remember washing hands, during the ritual. After
Yeah,
the,
there's a washing. There's 2 times we wash our hands. One before the celery, carrot, parsley dish, which we dip in salt water, but we don't make a blessing and everybody talks. And then we have one before the matzah. Great, great.
I also remember hard-boiled, not egg, but also potato.
So some people use potato, celery, carrot, parsley. Martin, what do you use? Karpas.
Oh yeah, carpas. Some people.
Parsley. Only parsley by itself? What? Yeah, we said potato. Okay. I don't know anybody who's radish, but that's fine. By the way, some people for that course, the karpas, they now put out more vegetables and people munch on them because they really are too hungry and it makes people grumpy. There's a lot of talking. Jeff, what do you remember?
I like that we pour wine for our neighbors and we don't pour for ourselves.
That's right. There's a wonderful custom that we each pour for somebody else. We don't pour for ourselves. Anybody know why we have that custom? Yeah, Gabby.
Because since you were freed from slavery, you don't work.
Well, it's more that we're like kings. We're like royalty.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody can pour for us and we can pour for other people. It is a very beautiful custom. Thank you, Jeff. Not everybody has it. My husband didn't know about it, but I'm very careful to do that. I think that's a beautiful custom. And not just the men, which it used to be, just the men did everything, the women. Not at my Seder, that's not happening. Alone, what do you want to add for the Seder? You're muted.
We were talking about how the kids are used as examples. Like there's the stupid kid and the mean kid.
Well, one second. Let's redefine him, not the stupid kid, the simple.
Yeah.
I didn't see any Haggadah where it says the stupid kid. The simple meaning maybe naive And then there's the one who doesn't know how to ask questions, which either they know nothing, so they don't even know what to ask, or they're too young. They're
The
just too
four
young to ask them.
questions, right?
And then there's the
It's not
four
Dawson's
questions. There's a
question.
lot of fours, 4 cups of wine, 4 questions,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
4 sons, 3 matzahs. 3
I
matzot.
remember one more thing. Something
Yeah.
about the gift. They were hiding the gift, and the
So,
youngest one
yeah,
was looking for the gift.
afikoman. So there's the afikoman where sometimes the parents hide it, sometimes the kids hide it, and the parents have to find it, and then whoever finds it gets a present. There's that's a very nice. You do have any kids with you, Mariana, where you're going, or just you and your
That will be cute.
husband?
They
You're
will
going
be
with the
cute.
kids. That's nice. Okay, so the story that's told, first of all, Seder means order, and there's 15 steps to it. It has a very specific order, and there's regular kiddush is one of the cups of wine. You know, there's a special cup of wine after the grace after meals. There's all sorts of things to say in the middle. Different people have different ways of having their Seder. Some people have a lot of words of Torah where they explain things. Some people just have discussion, or they might read stories. I'm thinking of how to do that at the Seder at the shul that I'm running, to balance some discussion with some personal stories for people to talk about at their tables. So that's one of my goals, which I haven't put together yet, but I'm thinking about it. And the main mitzvah, which is biblical. Well, the matzah is biblical, but there's another biblical mitzvah, which is Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, telling the story of coming out of Egypt. But we don't actually say a blessing on it, which is really interesting. Usually say blessing, and that's partly because there's no limit to how much you can talk about it. You don't just do one specific thing and then you're done. So that's the Haggadah. The Haggadah, Lahagid means to tell, and the Haggadah is the book that tells the story and tells you what to do. And there are all sorts of things in there, which you'll recognize from previous years. There are all sorts of tunes that people use for different parts of the Seder. It's arguably, I would say, the most well-known of the Jewish customs, and probably kept by the largest number of people, even people who are not observant, who don't have backgrounds, but they still keep it in some way, which is nice, but they probably don't say all the words in there. And you don't actually have to say all the words, but some of them are more important. What else? You say a blessing, a bracha, on the matzah. You say a blessing on the maror, the bitter herbs, which can be either lettuce or horseradish or a mixture of both. And you don't make a blessing when you make a sandwich of the matzah and the maror together, because that's not a mitzvah. That's a custom that Hillel used to do, to put them together. And I'm trying to think of what else I want to teach you about it. I mean, do you have any questions you'd want to ask me about the Seder?
We also
Has a
poured water, like we washed each other's hands at one point.
Same idea. Yep.
Okay.
Same idea. Beautiful. Yep. And again, not everybody has that custom, but
Okay.
we have that custom of washing each other people's hands. Yep. Very nice. Beautiful. Thank you. Chelsea, what do you want to ask?
Alon has a fun, well, he has a contribution. His contribution is Moshe's name is not mentioned because you don't want it to be about Moshe. You want
Right. You don't want to deify him. Very nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I forgot about that. Yeah. See, I forgot about him already. Moshe, I mean. Yes, Moshe's name is not mentioned. That is true. Even though he was the main savior, right? But he's not mentioned. Beautiful. It's more about the plight of the Israelites and God taking us out. Yeah. What else? What else would you ask me or want to talk about? Anything about the Seder? All right. So we spoke about Erev Pesach that comes out on Shabbat, right? And we spoke about Seder. There is something very special that we do. You know how you make Havdalah after Shabbat, right? With the light, with the fire and the besamim, the spices. So look at it this way. The highest level of holiness is Shabbat. The next level is Yom Tov, meaning the holiday, and then comes regular weekday. And that all has to do with what you're allowed to do. On Shabbat, you're not even allowed to cook. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to cook. And on weekday, you're allowed to basically do all of the creative work. Everybody with me? So usually we do have the after Shabbat. We use wine, spices, and fire. Now we're moving from Shabbat, right? Matzei Shabbat, Saturday night. We're moving from the higher holiness of Shabbat to the lesser holiness of holiday of Yom Tov. So here's the thing. You don't need the spices because you still have something very nice that you're doing. You don't have that same kind of letdown that we have after Shabbat. So when you move from Shabbat, one step instead of two, from Shabbat to holiday, you don't need the spices. You do use the wine, but we actually enfold Havdalah into Kiddush, believe it or not. You'll see that we bring fire, we bring a candle during Kiddush, and we make the blessing. So just so you know that there's a special way of saying Kiddush when it's Saturday night, because we're moving from Shabbat to holiday. And instead of saying, blessed be the one who separates between Shabbat and weekday, or between holy and weekday, we say, blessed be God who differentiates between holy and holy, because there's holiness of Shabbat and holiness of holiday. The last 2 days are Shabbat and Sunday. Those are days 7 and 8. And you still, of course, have to keep Pesach, but you don't have to make a Seder. You only have to do 2. If you're Nizar, you don't have to do 1. Any other questions? Yeah, Jeff.
Do we do Erev Tafshilin before the start of Shabbat this year?
So when do you do Erev Tavshilin? You remember?
I thought it's if a holiday is after the Shabbat.
No.
No, the other way
It's when a
around.
holiday is before Shabbat, so that you can prepare. So that you can
It's a
prepare for
holiday.
Shabbat, like heat things up, right? You're allowed to heat up soup on a Friday. Sorry. You're allowed to heat up soup on a holiday. So if you want your food for Shabbat to be hot and the holidays on a Friday, we have no Friday holidays this year. So you don't need Erev Tavshilin, which we'll talk about when we have a Friday holiday. We don't have to talk about that now. Right? Does that make sense to you, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Latoya, how are you doing? Any questions? You're good? Okay. You got that. All right, my friends. Some of you I'll see, some of you I won't. And wishing everybody a chag kasher b'sameach means it should be a kosher and happy holiday. And reach out with any questions. I'm expecting, hopefully, from 3 people here to send me your list of how you're going to prepare for Pesach. Chelsea, you wrote down the slight corrections we added. Awesome. Amazing. That's fantastic. You guys are great. You're awesome. You're just terrific. Sending love to all, and see you. Remember, we're not having one next week. We're not having one on Pesach, which we couldn't. It would be a Yom Tov day. But we're also not having one the day after Pesach because everybody's going to be busy getting their lives back into shape. It's just too much. So we have a 3-week break. And actually during those 3 weeks, you're going to be putting into practice so many things that you've learned. So you're really going to be doing what we learned, which is really important. Pesach is the most complicated. It's hard to argue with that. All right. Oh, there is something we do, Yizkor. Have we talked about Yizkor? It's when there's a special prayer for people who have passed away in your family. So we say it on Yom Kippur, on the last day of Sukkot, the last day of Pesach, and the last day of Shavuot. So it's a special prayer when people stay in, when they're reciting memorial prayer for those they've lost, who have passed away. And we usually light I light a special candle, just one of the many things we do. Okay. All right, friends. Be well.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. Bye.